Hi, my name is Scott Lokers, part of the Luminex group, and thanks for being part of another Whiteboard Wednesday. Again, we're in a series on hero followers and leaders and being hero followers of Jesus and leaders and helping others to do the same. And remember, when we're thinking about a hero, it's not that we are so grand. We're talking about being hopeful, empowered, resilient, optimistic followers of Jesus and helping others to do the same. Today, we're going to zero in on resilient, being a resilient follower of Jesus. I find, once again, I want to do that. I want to be resilient in my walk with Christ. And I also find internal and external pressure to not be that way. Sometimes it just feels too hard for me and I want to quit and do something else. Or sometimes I'll look for any other job other than the one that I believe God is asking me to do because, again, it's difficult. And I just want to run the other way and I want to find the easiest route. But what we're called to be and to do is to be resilient and to act in that way. So one of the things that helps me to live into this, once again, is to think about people who are resilient, people that I see and they seem to exhibit that quality, and what's true for them, and what lessons can I learn of those folks. And remember, when we're talking about resilience, we're not just talking about getting out from under a burden. We're not just talking about getting back to where we used to be. When we're talking about resilience, we're talking about going through circumstances and letting God do His work in us and through us in those circumstances. So we're going to come through changed, we're going to come through being transformed, and we're going to come through the other side with God being able to use us to impact others in a different way. So if I think about people in my life that are resilient, what's true for them? Two characteristics that I think about in their lives. One is they do their best to trust God in those circumstances. They trust God as they are able in the circumstance. And I say that as they are able, or they do their best, because this isn't perfect trust. People going through real difficult situations, there's an honesty. The resilient people that I see, there's an honesty to their trust. So I'm thinking now about a friend who's going through a really tough time as a leader. And she is a really good leader. She is. But this was a really difficult situation. And she was thinking about what the Apostle Paul writes about how these afflictions that we experience are light and momentary compared to all of eternity. But she said, on the one hand, I believe that, what Paul says. On the other hand, this does not feel light. And this does not feel momentary. This right now feels really heavy, and this feels like it's a long duration event. So what she was saying to me is trusting God as best she could do that in that circumstance, but being honest about what was going on inside of her and outside of her as well. The second thing I see in resilient people is that they will pay attention to the resources that God brings to them, and they'll do their best to use those resources. So now I'm thinking about a friend whose wife battled cancer for years and then died. So a very difficult situation, obviously, and lots of sadness involved in that. And he said to me at one point, he said, I'm going through the hardest thing I've ever gone through in my entire life. And I'm going through it without, humanly speaking, the person I've leaned on the most in my life, my wife. So he said it's the double aspect of that, going through what's hardest, and I'm doing it without my main source of support and comfort. But what he learned to do was to see some other resources. Not easy to accept the help of friends, the care of friends, or to plug into support groups. But he did, seeing those as opportunities that God was giving him to come through resilience. And I think about both of these people, and as they came through and as they got to the other side, God able to use them to impact lives, people who were going through similar kinds of circumstances. So when I think about, I want to live into this, to be resilient, it helps me to think, who are the examples, and to follow those examples. Thanks.